Welcome to Echoes of MK Ultra, developed and published by Ghostlair. In 1996's Digital Haze, Command Dark Pulse, a rogue terminal torn from DARPA's grip to pierce Saraxon's veiled conspiracy, crack codes, hunt real-world clues, and decode cryptic media to expose forbidden truths. It's an ARG, and you've already been seen. So this game is the first one that I've done on this channel for quite a while. And the only reason I'm doing it really at all is because the developer and publisher Ghostlair, Ghostlair Games, I should say, reached out to me and asked me to do a review and provided a key for me. It's the first game I've done in a while because, well, I've just been busy with other things, and to be honest with you, doing reviews and so on for this channel is something I do only in my spare time, and I just haven't had a lot of that recently. But I'm more than happy to take a look at this, and of course I am still on the hunt for a reasonable hacking-themed game that could potentially be used for educational purposes. I don't believe that I'm going to find that here. Ghostlair, in the description I just read, or in the communications that I've had with him, has indicated that it is in any way meant to be a faithful recreation or any kind of educational game whatsoever. But that said, it is still up my alley. I do love puzzle games and investigation games, and I've done a number of those on this channel just for fun as well. So happy to take a look. I'm not sure what the premise really is here. I can see in the description, as I just read, that it's meant to take place in the mid-90s, that I'm taking command of a node of DARPA's. I'm guessing it's meant to be, they're sort of conflating some of the historical facts here between the MK Ultra experiments, which took place prior to the 90s and was really a CIA-run operation, as far as I understand, to utilize hallucinogens and other chemical agents in order to affect some sort of mind control or something over certain subjects, and DARPA's early internet experiments and so on in order to create a unified decentralized communication platform. The two things, as far as I know, don't have any real world connections to each other. They are separated, of course, by decades in actual history, so I'm not sure what the connection is, but let's find out within the world of the game if they are indeed related. Year's 1996. You're a hacker, unseen, untamed.
1996.
Oh, we have.
You're a hacker, unseen, untamed. Dark Pulse, a rogue black market terminal program stolen from DARPA's core, cracks the grid's secrets. You receive an email, whispers of conspiracy, concealed by Saraxon's hidden sins. Uncover the truth. The shadows are awake.
Wasn't expecting voice dialogue. That's nice. Truth is a virus. Okay, so we seem to be jumping right into it here. We have a command line interface. Okay, apparently does not require case sensitivity. Dark Pulse command list. Connect to a server. Decode. Email. Okay. Help. Key. Load. We have save. Okay. List files on the current server. Enter system passcodes. Search 1996 logs. It's odd that the help file would contain the specific year as such, but all right. Quit. And scan. Search a specific file for secrets. Well, let's start with LS and see where we're at. Okay, we're nowhere. Can we CD? Of course not. It's not in the list. Just thought I'd check. Scan for a specific file. Scan. Okay, so. All right. Seems like maybe we are to check our email then. Okay, there it is. July 28th, 1996 is our most recent date. Did we get a more specific date than that? Is there? Okay, there is. Well, it's a small command buffer. Do we have? Nope. No accessible command buffer. No tab completion. Okay. Okay, let's start from the beginning here with our email from Mom. I haven't heard from you in months, but I think your beeper's broken or you're just ignoring me. Made that casserole you liked last weekend. Thanks, Ma. It's still in the freezer waiting for you. You can stop by anytime. for some reason in asterisks. Also, your cousin Carl fixed the VCR finally. Page me, or better yet, just show up. Love, Mom. P.S. I'm still paying for that Prodigy account. Are you even using it? I was a CompuServe customer in 1996 personally, although I did have my time on Prodigy as well. Circuit City, former electronics dealer. Was Circuit City a thing in 1996? I feel like that's a little bit early for Circuit City. Of course, they're long gone since the early 2000s, but I kind of feel like it was like a 10-year run that they had from like the late 90s to the mid 2000s. Anyway, although of course, while they might not have sold computers back then, Circuit City might have been a stereo dealer. From now through July, Laserdisc and early DVDs and whatnot. From now through July, receive a free Curtis Tech portable CD player when you spend $75 more. That in $1996 is a lot of money. For more at any participating Circuit City location, plus 10% off your next electronics repair with your TechZone membership card. Visit us in store or call 877. Well, now that seems to be an actual 877 number. It is the right format and everything. And it does say that this is an ARG. My guess would be that if we call that number, we might actually receive viable information within the world of the game. Should I attempt it? My plan going into this wasn't to actually pursue anything outside of the actual game. I mean, I was asked to review the game, and typically not interested in making contact with anyone in any regard, in any fashion. But I am curious to know if that is an actual number. I'll tell you what. I will not use my actual number here. Let me use my virtual number. I'll put it on speaker. Let's see if we get anything out of it. Won't be the best audio for you. It would be much better to call through VoIP app, but that's fine.
The person you are trying to reach is unavailable. Leave your message at the tone. Press pound when finished.
All right. So it is a number, and there is a voicemail there. It is odd that an 877 number, a toll-free number as such, would have a voicemail box like that, but, you know, it's either part of the game or it's not, and if it's not, then it's for something else. Antivirus bots, Millennium Bug detected. Millennium Bug was an actual thing. Warning, your 486DX2. In 1996, I think I was still rocking the old 386. I think I had a Packard Bell 386 back then, but it might have been a 486. I'm not sure. It's been a long time. But the Millennium Bug was a thing, yeah. Maybe infected with Y2K worm. Y2K was, you can look it up if you're not sure what that was, but 1996, you know, I was so young back then. I don't remember Y2K really being on the lips of most people until the much later, like literally 1998, 1999 is when I personally started first hearing about it, but I was really young back then. I wasn't exactly in the know. Buy Virus Blaster 96 for $50. That's a lot, especially for AV back then. There wasn't a lot of AV in 1996. That's kind of why viruses used to be such a huge problem. Total system meltdown in 4 years. Act now. Yeah. And there was a lot of scams that went around the time of Y2K too, because, you know, people were ripped up into a fervor and people would take advantage of that and run scams, you know, promising to Y2K proof things, or just using Y2K just as a topic as sort of a way to generate fear and gain ransoms. There's a specific term for that type of crime. You know, since we're on the subject of computer hacking and whatnot, of course, using a computer as an instrument in a crime is one way that you can use a computer. The more rare way of using a computer to commit a crime is using a computer as a symbol, as it's called. And it's very difficult to conceptualize intellectually what that means sometimes, but this is actually a perfect example right here. If I am using a computer as a symbol to commit a crime, I'm not actually using the computer, I'm just using what the computer represents. And let's say that Y2K is a thing, and I know that people are aware of it and they're afraid of it. If I go to people and I say I have a software package that will completely future-proof your computer system, just give me, well, $50 is a little bit low of a reward for this kind of a thing, because really it's only going to work the one time. But let's say, give me $300. I'll give you the disk here. You can just install it yourself, and you'll be just fine for Y2K and pretty much anything else. I mean, this does a complete backup of your system. So, I mean, if you run into any viruses or anything, you'll certainly help with that too. You just restore the system and you're good to go. I haven't actually used a computer in any of that. The software doesn't actually exist. I might not even, I mean, I might have a disk on me that I might use as a prop in the particular con, but I'm not actually using a computer. But I am using the computer as a symbol. I'm using the the fantastical nature, I suppose, that some people might harbor, Clark's Law and everything. If you don't understand technology, then it seems as if it's indistinguishable from magic. I'm just using that as a prop, essentially, in the scam, in the fraud. Cybersoft, get Hackmaster Elite, crack any server in minutes. $50 again. Wow. CompuServe, there we go. That's the other internet service provider from the mid '90s that was really popular back then. This is just around the time that AOL became a thing. So Prodigy and CompuServe were two major internet service providers, internet service providers back then were very small, generally mom and pop type of operations. Early adopters would create and run their own internet service providers, which piggybacked off of analog telecommunication networks at the time. Prodigy and CompuServe weren't really internet. I mean, yes, they were service providers, but there was no browsers and stuff back then. So basically, it was like you would pay for them to have access to the content that they hosted on their version of the proto-internet. And CompuServe and Prodigy actually very important in the early formation of the internet, because there were two lawsuits that took place in the mid '90s here that sort of developed what would become the basic groundwork, the rules that would allow the internet to take place. There was Cubby v. CompuServe and Stratton Oakmont v. Prodigy. And Stratton Oakmont v. Prodigy, of course, Stratton Oakmont, if you've seen The Wolf of Wall Street, it's that organization. So the stockbrokers, and Cubby v. CompuServe. I can't recall what Cubby was, but it was another business. They were both very similar in that Cubby and Stratton Oakmont were suing CompuServe and Prodigy respectively because of defamation. People on those platforms were using those platforms in order to allegedly defame those companies, Cubby and Stratton Oakmont. But they went in two different directions. In the case of Prodigy, they were marketing themselves as being the family-friendly internet, the kind of internet where your kids can go on there and stuff like that. And moderation was high on Prodigy as a result, because they wanted anything that wasn't fitting that image that they were marketing to be banned as soon as possible. And it got ridiculous. They tried some early attempts at what would be automated moderation, which is very common these days, but wasn't back then, to the point where if you mentioned another user's username, you would be banned. And there was a coin collecting forum on Prodigy at the time, and they were discussing Roosevelt dimes, FDR, the dimes that we use. There was a user called Roosevelt Dime, and because they were all using that name, everyone in the thread got banned. So high moderation on Prodigy. CompuServe, on the other hand, was more of a laissez-faire approach. They said, we're just hosting the content, we're not responsible for anything on there. And that led to two very different outcomes with these lawsuits. Prodigy lost their case against Stratton Oakmont. Cubby lost their case against CompuServe, and it came down to the moderation aspect. Because Prodigy had taken an active role in moderating content, they were more than just hosting it. They were editors. They were editorializing it. Whereas CompuServe, with their laissez-faire approach, they were just hosting it. They weren't taking any effort to moderate content or tailor it or anything for any specific demographic. Now, if you're following the story here, you might wonder, well, that sounds like it's a terrible precedent to set. Is that why the internet was like the Wild West, or is like the Wild West? And if that's the case, then why is moderation still a thing? It seems like there's no incentive for content hosts to moderate things at all. But I mean, look around the internet, there's moderators everywhere. That is exactly what the Congress of 1996 thought as well, as a result of these court cases. And so we saw amendments to the CDA, the Communications Decency Act, and the formation of what became known as Section 230, which essentially set the ground rules for the internet at the time, where if you were a content host, if you hosted a website or anything like that, then you and your other users were not responsible at all for the content that other users would create. Right. So essentially, you were allowed to moderate, but you didn't necessarily have to, and there was no real penalty for not doing that. So then the incentive for moderation became entirely about the commercial viability of your platform, so on and so forth. And, here we are 30 years later, where we're at. And that is not necessarily a great place, but that is where it came from. All right, Anon 96. Project Enigma is DARPA's black project. Use Dark Pulse to breach their server. We have a cipher here. Can I copy and paste? I cannot. Caesar shift 2 backwards. Connect to Shadow BBS using command connect Shadow BBS, then log in for intel. Seraxon's signals hide the truth. Okay, so this is supposed to be a shift 2 cipher. J... B. Oh boy, I'm just going to use a site to decode this. HDWZVN K96. I'm assuming that the numbers do not need to be shifted. Shift 2. Decrypt. Let's shift 2 backwards, though. So I suppose it should actually be, if I'm shifting forward, a shift 24. Okay. Decode.fr is having some kind of issues here. Okay, it's fine. I think we got it. Shadow connect Shadow BBS. Okay, secure Dark Pulse connecting Shadow Labs. 23. Use Enigma, decrypt cipher, then use login Enigma. FB XT Y 96. Okay, that seemed to have worked. Okay, now let's to explore. There's one file, enigmabrief.txt, oh, 2 files, and labaudio.wave. Okay, so we can't cat, no. So we have to do scan. Can we do tab completion here? Nope. Enigma brief.txt. Oh, that's right. It's not scan. That's for finding something specific. Do I just... Why not? Decode list files. Search. Ooh, what? Do I need to... What did I miss? Save your progress. Type file name soon. Enigma. Did I misspell it? I definitely misspelled it this time. Enigma brief.txt. Okay. Scan. I did misspell it. Okay. This is why I wish there was tab completion. Enigma brief.txt. There we go. Surexon hides the truth. Hidden audio file containing spectrogram embedded image. A message located somewhere on Surexon.com holds the key. Okay. So it's saying that there's an audio file that contains a spectrogram. So spectrogram is, let's see, so you have an audio file. Of course, the audio file is made up of different waves, frequencies of sound. Those frequencies can be represented visually in the form of a spectrogram. It's a common way of hiding information. I had challenges like this along with the last CTF contest as well. Okay, this is on Surexon.com. Let's see if Surexon.com is an actual thing. Hiring engineers. So yes, it does seem to be an actual site. I'm getting the idea here that they want me to actually search the sites for the sound. So again, I wasn't really planning on going out of the game here for this, but let's follow this through at least a little bit here. Huh? One sec. Okay, so here's the site. There's a hidden audio file. Well, let's check the page contents first, I suppose. Not a lot to it. I've got a server name here. SecureServer.net. Monitoring performance to make your website faster. If you want to opt out, please contact support. Okay. Sign in to continue shopping or manage your account. Okay. So as an audio file, it's possible. So it depends on how deep down the rabbit hole we want to get here. Is technically speaking, if we're already talking about steganography being a possibility and the hiding data within data, the audio file here that's got a message in the spectrogram, that's steganography. Technically speaking, if we want to go down that rabbit hole, any one of these image files, for example, would most likely be sufficient for hiding a audio file. But my guess is that we're not going to be dealing with multiple tiers of steganography here, because that would just be crazy. We'd spend all of our time deconstructing everything here because there's just so many different ways that it can be done. But let's explore some of these interior pages next here and see what we get. Or vision. Neural network systems, aerospace forensics, neural contracts, rapid containment, cognitive linkage. Langley, Virginia facilities are equipped with state-of-the-art labs for classified research and development. Let's see, is there any actual real-world analogs for these? Well, this is 1996 in the concept of the game, so neural networks were the stuff of science fiction. Like, literally, there was a couple of science fiction novels at the time that contained what would be considered today to be neural networks, but no, of course, nothing like we have now. Aerospace forensics, I don't think there's anything that is specifically aerospace forensics, unless, of course, you're talking about, for example, like air traffic accident investigators or something along those lines. I know that there are people that do specialize in that, sure. I'm not sure why it would be listed alongside neural networks or any of these other items, but it's there. Select cases include 1996 domestic airspace activity, okay? Federal contracts, undisclosed surveillance initiatives, and multi-agency technical support. You have to remember 1996 is before 9/11. And before 9/11, of course, there was an intelligence apparatus in the United States. I mean, there had been an intelligence apparatus going back quite a long ways. Now, these days, as Americans, we kind of take it for granted that, of course, governments have intelligence apparatus. There's domestic and foreign intelligence communities. That is actually not the case. It's actually a really recent invention. Even the idea of there being national police in the form of the FBI or anything like that is relatively new. I mean, remember, America itself is pretty new still. It's only a couple hundred years old, for God's sake. But the idea that there's an intelligence apparatus within the United States, that's really new. I mean, the OSS was circa World War II. 1 into 2, I should say. And then after that, the Cold War, that's really where we began to develop even the concept of what international intelligence and espionage is as it is today, of course. It has always existed, but, as it is today, as we think of it today. But it wasn't until 9/11 that the information sharing networks that make modern intelligence services possible really came around. There was no Department of Homeland Security before 9/11. And intelligence services as they exist today really didn't come into their modern forms until after that. So we're really talking about something that existed post 2000s here, not in 1996. I mean, in 1996, this was the Clinton administration, and PPD 65 had just come out, which was the first real time that any federal level really had officially recognized the burgeoning internet and its importance and the future that it held for us as a nation. So, you got to keep in mind that while for us, as we sit now in history, all of this is just axiomatic. It's just the way things are, and expecting all of our information to always be available to anybody, and to have people just naturally collecting information about us and our enemies and our allies and everything. That is not a given. It's not the way things have necessarily always been done. Rapid containment, mobilized response to anomalous aerospace air security disruptions. 1996 is after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, but I wouldn't say that the Cold War was over necessarily. In 1996, it was the time over in the USSR where it was crumbling. I believe Yeltsin was president of Russia at the time. So, there was issues with corruption and everything over there, at least as I understand it as an American who lived through that period. But I would say that since it was the dawn of the information age and we were still just coming out of the nuclear age and the Cold War was still very fresh in people's minds, I do believe that at that time, anomalous aerospace or security disruption was still the existential threats, I think, to most Americans, because nuclear Armageddon is what people used to be afraid of before, of course, we had new things to be afraid of, like climate change and the singularity that's fast approaching and so on and so forth. Cognitive linkage interface, research bridging organic and synthetic command inputs. Now, that is something that the scientific community and the intelligence community, non-intelligence community. Let's just say it is something that many interested parties have been interested in for a very long time. The idea that there's, the Neuralink idea, the idea that we can maybe operate technology without having to use any of our physical capabilities, that we could interface directly with technology through the process only of thought. I mean, that is something that would be absolutely revolutionary in terms of our relation to technology and so on. It would truly make technology an extension of not just our meat suits and the physical world around us, a separate component from us that we operate as people, but to truly integrate it with what it is to naturally be human, which is to think. So that is something that has been around for a while. Not the point of MK Ultra, of course. Projects. Project Janus, Orion Shield, Neural Sync Directive, Assigned Relay Framework. Contact us for clearance. Okay, so there's our audio file. You can see that it says Saraxon.com 4.wave. So that is the audio file here in the Contact Us section. I don't know how I feel about that being the target of a random link on an interior page. I mean, on one hand, I did find it, so clearly it is fair. On the other hand, it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. Okay, so that's a 5-second audio clip there. And the audio that you're hearing there does sound very much like you would expect if there was an embedded message in the waveform, the spectrogram. I'll play it one more time here. It's the sort of dissonant tones because it's representing something visually, not in terms of audio. So you're not generally going to get a good sound, right? Because that's not the point of it. I'll play it one more time. You can hear it. Right. All right. So let's grab this. All right. So I do have that, and I do have Audacity up so that we can analyze it. And grab that file. That is 4.wave. Drop it here into Audacity. All right. So here is the wave that we just downloaded, and I'll play it just one more time, just so you can hear that it is the same file. All right. Now these spikes that we're seeing here, these are the frequencies that make up that audio track. But this is not a spectrogram. This is just a representation of the audio in terms of its spikes and relative volume. We can change that by right-clicking the track in Audacity and going from waveform to spectrogram. And there you go. It's the same file. I'll play it just one more time. I know it's annoying to hear, but so you can see that there is no change. I have not altered the file in any fashion. All right, so I'm merely just representing those waveforms in another fashion. You can see here that it spells out the word shadow key. Which means that we are back to the game. Where am I supposed to use that, though? Hides the truth in audio file contains spectrogram embedded. Message located somewhere. Holds the key. Key to... Well, let's check that other file we have here, because it's also an audio file. Okay. Subject in distress, implant activated, mentions Saraxon and July 96. July 22nd, 1996.
Subject 47, neural implant, activation, March 15th, 1996. Begin synchronization.
It's in my head! Saraxon? Why is it burning?
Cognitive integration at 82%. Noting distress, possible overload.
Something about July 96. They're hiding it.
Terminate session. Administer sedative.
Bоже мой. Okay. So we are gathering certain clues here, I suppose. I should probably be taking notes because I've completely forgotten exactly what I'm doing here. So we have the shadow key and the lab audio wave file that we just listened to seemed to indicate that there were human trials and implants and so on. I think we're getting a picture of the idea here. Let's check our help file again, because there is a submit a pass key, so I can just go key, shadow key perhaps. Key verified. Accessing whistleblower's vault. New files unlocked. Use LS. New email received. Let's check that out first. Vault unlocked. Oh, we actually got another email here. Oh, okay. So we did receive an email telling us what to do before, but luckily we managed to discover that on our own. And another email here, Non-96. You reached the vault with the shadow key. Verify TWA Flight 800 crash for the truth. They buried it deep. Find a significant date, then use passcode command to try to uncover more documents. Okay. So there was an actual TWA Flight 800 crash. Now, just keep in mind that in 1996, I was 14, 15, something along those lines. So I wasn't exactly at a place in my life where I was really all that interested in the news or things that are going on. But even I remember TWA 800. As I recall, it was a air flight disaster that occurred in New York. I think they had left JFK Airport. And I believe that they were headed, and again, I'm sorry if I get any of this wrong, it's been so long. I believe that it was an international flight, and they were heading east out of JFK, and they did not make it very far. I think they had just made it to, I think they were flying along the southern coast of Long Island, if I remember correctly. They hadn't even reached cruising altitude yet because they had just taken off, and I think that they were at about 16,000 feet when there was just a sudden explosion. Now, if you're at all familiar with air accidents or disasters in this fashion, you know that that it is far, far more common for there to be technical issues or problems at takeoff or landing. Those are the points in the flight which are most stressful on the aircraft and require the most skill for the pilots, the most attention and skill, I suppose I should say. Whereas generally speaking, once you're up off the ground a few thousand feet in the air, it's really not all that bad. You got to worry about turbulence and so on, but it's very rare for something to go wrong at that point. And the TWA 800 disaster was one of those rare occurrences where it occurred when they were more or less in the clear, or should have been in the clear. And I do remember, I'm not familiar with any specific conspiracy theories here, because this game does seem to be trying to connect or conflate various conspiracy theories together, the MK Ultra and DARPA conspiracy theories, or I should say as symbols in the conspiracy theory. I don't remember there being any in particular about TWA 800, but I would say that it is exactly the kind of disaster that would lead to conspiracy theories surrounding it, because again, it is a rare occurrence for a flight to suddenly explode like that in midair after the most dangerous points had passed. But I do remember that they did find a cause, and what was that? Electrical failure, I think it was. I think there was specifically, they discovered, was it arcing on the fuel system? There was an electrical failure that led to high voltage arcing somewhere near the tanks, the mid-wing tanks, if I remember correctly. Yeah, either way, as I recall, there was no surprise at all. But of course, that is exactly what they would want you to know if they were trying to hide something, right? They make the truth make perfect sense, and that's how they get you. I don't know how I feel about using something like TWA Flight 800. I'm already a little sketchy when it comes to like utilizing things like MK Ultra and so on as story points, unless of course you're telling a historical retelling or or something along those lines, because we are talking about actual suffering here. I mean, there were people who suffered as a result of the MK Ultra experiments, which, if you're not familiar with, yes, it's a conspiracy theory, but it's also a 100% real thing that actually happened. It has been declassified. So I don't know how I feel about using it, especially, you know, in media like this, because of course, the more media out there that mythologizes or mistells the stories, the harder it is to find the truth. But I definitely don't think I'm comfortable using an actual air disaster like this. TBA Flight 100, Flight 800, there's like 230 people that died on that. It was everybody on board, all of the passengers and the crew. Not to be overly sensitive here, I just I feel like I mean, if you wanted to utilize an air disaster as part of your story, it's easy enough to make one up, right? It's not as if there's an actual Saraxin or anything like that. You can plant clues in your ARG all over the internet. It doesn't have to actually take advantage of an actual incident. Of course, on the other hand, I don't know anybody who's really talking about TWA 800 anymore, so I guess maybe if nothing else, it revitalizes attention on the old topic. You know what? It's a moral gray area. I think for me, I'm going to err on the side of I would prefer to avoid that, but I'm certainly not going to judge the developer for this at this time. It's at least not a distasteful reference, at least at this point. We'll see where it goes. They buried it deep, find its significant date, then use the passcode command to try and uncover more documents. Okay, so is that going to be the date of the disaster? Passcode command, enter system passcode, so passcode, and I'm guessing yes. Okay, so let's see, it was 1996. I'm going to have to actually look up the date, though. Let's see what we got. TWA 800 disaster. I'm going to guess it was in July, considering the time frame of the game. Date of accident. Thank you, Wikipedia. That is indeed. Let's see. Do I enter 7 or 07? 1996. Apparently I do. Access code verified. Restricted files unlocked. Use LS to access. I didn't actually look. Didn't they say that there were other files that were unlocked up here and I didn't actually look at them? I just went right for the email, didn't I? Well, hopefully there was nothing important in there. Okay, let's try neurolog.txt. Saraxin Technologies, technician log date July 20, 1996. Perseus site implant sync at 92% emotional manipulation stable, but DARPA is tightening security. I don't know if I've ever actually yet explained what DARPA is. So if you're not familiar with the acronym, DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. So it is a group, a think tank, a research and development group, I guess, that does work within the is it the DoD or is it actually an Army thing? I would say it's a DoD thing. That sounds about right. So, you know, it is part of their responsibility to essentially look for newer and better ways of waging war, to improve the human work of waging war, protecting the nation, that kind of a thing. These days, I think that we more or less associate that kind of activity with private sectors that are under government contract, and that's probably true. I'm not particularly knowledgeable about this, but that does seem about right. You know, I'm sure that Palantir and Neuralink and so on all have government contracts, and they're basically doing research and development that DARPA was, or is doing. But in the terms of 1996, DARPA was one group that was developing a decentralized communications system for the United States and our allies. Again, in 1996, this was post-Cold War, but nuclear holocaust was still a great existential threat. And so, the question always remained, what do we do in the event that there is a nuclear holocaust? What if our telecommunications hubs are targeted? And so DARPA was one group among many developing some of the technologies that would eventually become the internet. There is no one father of the internet or no one founder of the internet. DARPA was working on projects that would help to develop the internet, but so were other agencies and other groups and other nations. I mean, the underlying technologies that make the internet, even the early internet possible, HTML, CSS, JS, those were all part of completely different projects entirely. They just happened to coalesce into what the internet eventually became. And now look at us these days. It started out as a decentralized communication platform that could survive a nuclear attack, and then the telecom companies, they got upset that they were losing their grip on the telecommunications network, so they spent the next 30 years recoalescing all of this and centralizing this specifically decentralized communications platform, and now here we are once again back to where we were, where we're vulnerable to attacks along specific telecom hubs that would essentially black out all communications on the planet. I love money and what it does. Anyway, that's what DARPA is, and as a result, their names do come up in a number of different conspiracy theories because, of course, they're the research group that was the brainchild, or many of the technologies, I suppose, in the conspiracy theories were the brainchild of DARPA or groups like them. So, all right. So what do I got to do? Decode the neurocipher key for data encryption with 5316. They're burying evidence of the 96 incident. Check the vault for details. Dr. Philip Kukler. That name sounds familiar, though I'm not sure exactly where. So, could be we have to look up Dr. Philip Kukler and figure out what that's about, but it says decode the neurocipher key for data decryption with 5316. So it's 5316. Let's see, what do we have? Perseus log. Let's try that. Project Perseus, Operation Sigma Veil, Subject Abacus, Observation Log Fragments. It's 1994. Sorry, the attached document is a fraction of an observation log related to redacted. I suggest the attached document is a log related to redacted. Note, can't verify, checksum integrity, be aware and take note. Top secret Sigma Veil. Use alt access. Use for alt access. ID SV 177605. Okay. So, can I then connect to that? 177605. Command failed. Okay, so that's not it. Let's crack encrypted data. I don't. Let's read neurolog.txt again. Decode neurocipher key data decryption with. Okay, so is there? No, neurolog.txt. So I don't see a neurocipher. Neurocipher? No. you know what I should try? Let's try saving. Oh, okay. I do like a game with a save system. Okay. So we have the two files. I guess the first thing I had to do is we have this image, so is this then the image that holds the cipher? Let's try that. Scan. Spell it right. Okay. Okay. Log.jpg. All right. The attached document. Fraction of an observation log related to blank. Trying to figure out what that word is. The attached document is a to the recent something or other. SB 177605 used for auth access. Let's see. Well, hold on. Did we get an email about this? No. Because the last time I did this, I made a no. Okay. Okay. So the TWA flight 800 was the date. Okay. So we did get through that. So we found that clue. So if that's the case, all right. So I've reached that old familiar feeling whenever I'm doing a puzzle like this, where I feel like I don't know what step to take, but I believe that I have the information required to take it. And so what I do in that case is exactly what I'm doing now. I take a step back, reassess the last clue I got, and that referred to TWA 800. We did find a connection to that, and that got us where we're at. So I can assume TWA 800, unless there's further references to it, has nothing to do with where I'm at now. Okay, so let's see what we do have to work with. 2 files and no other emails. Okay, so we've got just the 2 files to deal with. Now, we have dealt with steganography in this game already once before, and JPEGs are extremely resilient to data tampering, and they're a perfect format for hiding data. But, to my knowledge, unless we go through the game files, we can't access this JPEG through the game's interface. This is an ARG, so digging through the game's files, I think, is a distinct possibility, but I also haven't received any clues that would indicate that there is data hidden in PerseusLog.jpg. Let's take one more look at that. Okay, it's referring to Project Perseus, Operation Sigma Veil. I'm not personally familiar with either of those. Subject Abacus, Observation Log Fragment. Date October 3rd, 1994, so this takes place roughly 2 years before the events of this game. Attached document is a fraction of an observation log. I don't have an attached document, I just have this JPEG. And the rest of this seems like filler information. I would guess that this string of numbers here in the middle, this one right here, isn't relevant because it would require making guesses as to the actual... like this one right here is clearly a 1. You can see part of that, but the second digit, this digit here, this is probably a 1. That's definitely a 0, but still, doesn't seem like it rings true to me, just because we'd have to do at least 2 or 3 iterations of those numbers, and there's quite a lot of them in order to really get a chance at the right one. So don't think that's it. It mentions verifying checksum integrity. Does that mean that I do have to find this file and then... But see, here I'm making leaps of logic, because then if I do have a checksum, then that's going to give me, well, let's say we use MD5. That's going to give me an MD5 value, but I don't have any indication that that's what I'm looking for, so that's not it. The only piece of information on the JPEG that really makes sense is this note used for alt access, ID. Okay, so the important piece of information off of this JPEG has to just be SV177605. That has to be the only piece of information that I can see that is a value so far, but let's try and keep this information in mind. Neurolog.txt. So this is July 20th, 1996. This is a couple of days before the events, about a week or so. Perseus Suite Implant. Okay, so this is Project Perseus that we just saw the note for. It's still going on 2 years later. Decode the neurocipher key for data decryption with 5316. Dr. Philip Kukler. That name does sound familiar, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm not that great with names. Okay, so we have 1516 and SV 177605. Those are the 2 pieces of information that I feel are most important. The name may lead us to what that is. Let's see, 177605, SV 177605. Decode the neurocipher key. Okay. So we're decoding a key. We're decoding a key for data decryption with 5316. 5316 seems like a key in and of itself. So 5316 must be the key to decode the key for further decoding. SV 177605. I mean, 177605 is obviously, that date is important. SV Soda Voce Silent Voices. I don't think. SV, like the designation for the stealth bomber. No. 177605. 177605. All right, if we put those 2 together, 5316, 5316, 1776. Let's just work with those 2 sets of numbers. There's 4 and 4. -4, no. 6, no. 10, 4, no. 8, 6, no. No. And then 05. Is it 05 or 005? 05. 05. Okay, so we got 6 digits. SV, 2 letters, 6 digits, dash, 4224242. 2 characters, 4 characters, 2 characters. With 4 characters for a key. So 5316. So 20. No, I can't. No. Okay. Well, the log does tell us to decode the neurocipher key. So we do have a decode command. Decode 5316. Decode SV 1770. No, that shouldn't be related though. It said to decode the neurocipher key. It said to decode the neurocipher key. The Perseus log is from 2 years before that, and it doesn't indicate that this is has anything to do with neurocipher. Let's try it anyway. Command failed. Okay. Am I... Hmm. 5316 SV. I know this is terribly, terribly exciting to watch. I'm thinking, okay? Give me a second to think. Okay. All right. All right. It's telling me what it needs me to decode. Decode the neurocipher key. I don't have that. I have a neurolog txt. I wonder if I missed a file. It really seems like I skipped a step because I went right from the whistleblower vault to the next stage accidentally. I wonder if I missed it then. Let's see, can I query whistleblower? I spelled it wrong. It's hard to type around a microphone. Okay. Query. Just I don't know. I don't know what this even means. Query term. Okay. Query TWA 800. It gave me an example of a command to run, and I got nothing from that example. Okay. Starting to get frustrated. Okay. Scan Perseus log.jpg. I need to find the neurocipher key. Is it that long string of numbers? I don't think so. I'm back to just grasping at straws here. All right, the only piece of information on this entire image that seems like it's directly relevant, other than the fact that the name Perseus ties this to the neurolog.txt file. The date seems to be irrelevant. I don't know what subject abacus is. Don't know what Operation Sigma Veil is. The attached document is a fraction of an observation log related to redacted. I suggest the attached document is I don't know what that word is. Related to the recent redacted. Classification, top secret, Sigma Veil archive copy. Use for alt access. And I can't connect to that. Oh my God. Okay, that was 3 failures, and 2 of them were entirely my fault. So I could have saved some time. It's fine. Okay. Email. I don't have any new emails. Okay. Is it a passcode? Oh my god. I am not accepting... I'll accept partial responsibility for that. Cannot accept full responsibility. I feel like that was not clear. Okay. Vault code for final... Okay, we're already at the end. Holy shit. Enigma report.txt. Project Enigma violates human rights. Neural implants control emotions and behaviors. The actual MKUltra experiment was with chemical agents, specifically hallucinogens that were already in. Well, they weren't in common use, I guess, at the beginning of MKUltra, but certainly by the end they would have been. I don't think that specifically there's any leaks from the MKUltra experiment that led to the development of hallucinogens, or I should say the proliferation of hallucinogens. But they certainly were in society by that point. I'm pretty sure the CIA didn't necessarily create that problem. They may have developed stronger varieties of it as a result of these experiments, but I think for the most part they were just testing a theory that had already been prevalent in popular culture at the time, that hallucinogens could possibly be used to manipulate people. And, you know, there is something to that. I mean, hallucinogens are currently being debated as potential treatments for pervasive and pernicious mental disorders like clinical depression and so on. That's why it's subject to spanning global networks. Evidence undeniable. It's released could topple governments. Its destruction protects the status quo. Okay. And we have report access, choose transmits to global networks, or purge to erase all traces. So there seems to be no new information here in the Enigma report. It seems to me as if we're just being given a choice as to how we want to end the game. I never had a chance to actually take a look and see what this is. Oh. A different help file. A different help than we get when we type help. Oh, it's there's a current tip. Oh, geez, I wish I had known that like fucking 15 seconds ago. Review report with enter the command transmit to broadcast Saraxon's truth or purge to destroy it. Keep note of any passcodes or clues found in documents or elsewhere. Oh, that wasn't strictly necessary, at least in this playthrough. After using the ls command, files can be viewed by typing the names. Okay, type help without quotations anytime. See list of available commands to use. Some commands require one or two parameters. For example, if you type decode, hit the spacebar, then... Okay. Did we have to actually do that in this playthrough? I might have skipped that part too. Don't remember using decode in that fashion at all. I might have. Keep an eye on emails that come in by using the email. This game could benefit from there being an icon in one of the corners that shows a little mail icon when mail comes in. I understand that it's not exactly in keeping with the command line aesthetic that they've got going on here, but maybe we also have the cog and the question mark in the corner, so I don't think it would be too far off. But I did miss that email that time. Some puzzles or clues may need to be researched online to find the answer. Okay, that was expected, and we did pass through that. Okay. So that tells me what we need to do. So broadcast Saraxon's truth or purge to destroy it. What about this? Console color options, green or white. Okay. Well, it's transmit because the truth is out there. Dark pulse fades, your signal echoes into the void, the networks hum with secrets you've stirred, but the shadows of 1996 never sleep. Saraxon's eyes linger, watching, waiting. You've hacked the truth, but the code runs deeper. Stay vigilant, Shadowrunner. More signals await, more to come. Thanks for playing. That does seem to be the end of the game. Shadowrunner, that's a reference to Shadowrun, which is a TTRPG from many, many years ago. It's still played today. I believe that we are on the 6th edition of Shadowrun. I personally have... I got the books I love the game. I love the lore. Of course, there's a series of video games and so on that goes along with them. I am familiar with the parlance because of that, but I have never gotten a table together to actually play. Same thing with Call of Cthulhu. I have the books. I love the setting. Can't get anyone to play. Just D&D. That's all anyone wants to play. But that's okay because it's D&D, and if I want to play a horror game, I just make a D&D horror game, so that's fine. Not exactly relevant to this. I haven't seen any other Shadowrunner or Shadowrun lingo or anything. We have C7422 up in the corner. That must be some kind of a designation. We got the coffee stain there in the corner. Okay. I was checking to see if there was maybe some last minute clues or something, but I see not. It seems to be just a thank you for playing. And Ghost Slayer, you're welcome. Thanks for making the game. Let's check that new email. You did it. The world's awake. Your signal ignited a firestorm. Stay sharp. Saraxon's not done fighting. So this is not in early access, if I remember correctly. Let me check the... This does seem to be a full release. Yep, game release. So I will say it was short. In terms of what I'm specifically looking for on my channel, the things that I'm interested in, definitely not a faithful reproduction of a command line interface to the point where I could say that it's suitable for teaching purposes. As a puzzle game, it was all right, not too bad. Not the hardest I've played, certainly not the easiest. I did get hung up on the one thing, although I do have to again reiterate, I don't feel like that was specifically me on that one. There wasn't quite enough information to lead me to believe that it meant to be used in that fashion, but hey, that's fine. The ARG elements, I'm glad I participated in them. The presence of the phone number didn't really go anywhere. I don't know if that was a red herring or if it was just a coincidence that it happens to be a valid number. If so, I would recommend changing that. The website that contained the WAV file, that was a nice touch. The WAV file being present in a sort of random hyperlink buried on an interior page. That wasn't exactly intuitive, but I did find it, so that's fair play. Yeah, overall, not too bad. It reminded me less of a puzzle game and more of, boy, what are they called? You know those subscription puzzle box things that you can get, where you pay a monthly subscription fee and then they mail you what is basically a home escape room where you get to do puzzles and solve a mystery and stuff like that. You can actually buy them in big box stores. I think Barnes & Noble sells them now. Target may sell them as well. You get a case. You pretend to be a detective and you solve puzzles and stuff in order to figure it out. It reminds me more of one of those types of things, which is not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. I subscribe to some of those. And I do them all the time. I'm a big fan of those. So, I had no problem with that. The problem with those games, and the problem that we may have here with Echoes of MK Ultra as a game, is simply its replayability. Once you solve it, it's kind of done. That said, currently it's on sale on Steam, and the price is certainly worth the price of admission here. I don't know how much playtime I got out of this. Let's see, we're at a little over an hour and 15 minutes of recording. Yeah, that's worth a couple bucks for sure. Yeah. The themes are good. MK Ultra is, it's a real thing. It's rife with the mythology and conspiracy that goes along with it. I don't know how I feel personally about using real world events as a form of entertainment in this case, but as I said before, I'm not gonna fault anyone for enjoying it or for using it. It's just a personal thing of mine. What I would prefer to see, if I were to suggest any alternatives, is to spend a little bit more time building out your own world. Do your own world building, do your own mythology. You can certainly still use the ARG methods, and you can certainly still utilize real world infrastructure and unconventional sort of methods of solving the puzzles. without having to resort to using actual real world anything really. And if it's intriguing enough, people will be interested in it. That said, you do miss out on the MK Ultra branding, I suppose. If someone is just looking in Steam for a quick game to play or something like that, they'll see MK Ultra and that might draw them in. So there's that, but I feel like that's a problem that can still probably be overcome with clever application of, I don't know, a thumbnail, I guess. Something that would be equally intriguing without taking advantage of the mythology around the MK Ultra program. And that said, as a parting word to anyone who happens to still be listening, if you are interested in any of the themes of the game, I do encourage you to go out and do your own research. Like I said, MK Ultra is a real thing. TWA 800 was a real thing. DARPA is a real thing. There's a whole world out there that if you're not familiar with these topics, there's a lot to learn. Go out and do so. All right, thanks for watching. Appreciate it, and we'll see you later.